And if you would, Mr. Tommy McLean from Fellowship Baptist Church is going to lead us in our prayer. And after that, we'll do say our pledge of allegiance. Mr. McLean, glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. I'm very happy and honored to be here. Thanks for letting me come. All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've given us. We thank you for this wonderful opportunity, this board to meet together to discuss business as to how to lead this county in education. Lord, we just pray right now for wisdom for them as they do this business. You say in your word, if we lack any wisdom, all we must do is ask for it. You'll give it to us generously. So Father, we do pray for that supernatural wisdom that you give them. Lord, help them to do the very best they can. And we thank you for them, for their willingness to serve. And Father, as this time comes, we pray that all of it would be done for your glory, and that, Lord, everybody would get home safe tonight. Thank you very much for all that, Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? So motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Ms. Eubanks. Those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, motion passed. Are there any additions? Would anyone like to remove any item from the consent agenda for discussion? Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Jenkins. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passed. Dr. Combs is a little bit on the weather tonight, and anyway, Dr. Bird's gonna do his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick thing, and then I'll turn it over to Hunter to give you an update. You may remember back a few months ago that we received a settlement from the Jewel lawsuit. Well, we have received another notification of a settlement offer from a second company called Altria. And that settlement is in the amount of $75,334. And Dr. Combs has asked for a motion to accept the settlement offer so that he can contact this law firm and relay that information to them. And Deborah Owen is aware of the offer and is in agreement with the settlement terms. So.
Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. McCann. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Hunter Bennett, maintenance supervisor.
So as we discussed last time, we would be under demolition of the tornado schools, if you will, last time we met, and we are actively, as of just moments before coming in, we're at 90% of the Crestview Middle School coming down vertically, with 15% of that slab that has been removed as of just before I came. So, very fast-paced crew. Definitely dedicated to hitting our goals and picking up the spirits of the community as far as, you know, what is next and what does the future look like. So please know that ball is moving, and the team that is here has heard our need for things to be expedited, you know, as efficiently as possible. So Mr. Moorhead and his crew from Complete Demolition have definitely stepped up and accepted that challenge. So if you haven't gotten a chance to drive by, it is a sight to be seen. It's a full-fledged Caterpillar construction site, if you will. I mean, they've got big equipment. So our home ec kitchens, as we mentioned before, those we are hopeful to get those wrapped up over fall break, so they will be back hopefully functioning. They're in there teaching the culinary classes. We've got to get in and tie in some sinks and get some equipment we've had that we received at the middle of the summer, get that installed. So hopefully we're going to have them installed. And I think it's worth giving a shout out. Obviously, all three, Mumford High School has a new teacher in that position. Mr. McLean does a great job at Covington High School, but I'd go without giving Miss Katie Greathouse at Brighton High School a shout out for her commitment to what it is that she does for that program and how she's really just taken and really, you know, making sure that all programs, she doesn't just speak for her, you know, for what it is that they need, just making sure that all programs are, you know, moving forward in that culinary direction. The Ag Barns, another shout out to Miss Ann Johnson. Obviously, they were granted, Dr. Combs, you guys, the board granted them money a couple years back for some stuff. That really gave them a foundation to really, bring on some programs that otherwise they couldn't without having specific in the right facility. And, she has really, gone and written some grants that have yet to come to fruition, but I know that she's writing some grants for some things. But Mr. Cole and the Brighton Bunch also, JJ at Covington, they're all playing a part, but I think it's worth mentioning Ms. Johnson's efforts, of what she does as far as just to continue to grow those. But we were able to get a small footage, thanks to Mr. Ramsey, here on the demolition, as far as the project. But I do encourage you guys to drive by and take a look at it. They're on the front street now, so you won't have to go behind the school to actually witness it. We don't need a big parade of people, however, guys, it's a full job site.
I went by there today and I saw 3 track hoses and I don't know what else was on it. But
So they got track hoses, they've got a couple skid steers, they've got dump trailers, they've got dump trucks, they've got, bulldozers. It's,
Yeah.
And speaking of Mr. Moorhead, this is what they do, guys. They don't build back, they demo. And I know that there's a lot of emotions tied up in that project. Dr. Morris, I know to watch a building and you guys, I've spent years, for myself, obviously I go to school there, but I don't have the emotional attachment that I know most of the community does. So I know that as they're excited to see, new things coming, but the excitement is coming and we will build back better. So not to get too sappy on you, but the project is full force. Does anyone have any other questions currently for me as far as construction projects? Maintenance is not the fun part to talk about, but does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Cool. Check up on the Mumford field we talked about, get somebody to look at that engineering as far as gates and those step over.
I know that, Dr. Fee and they were going to monitor those areas and to see what how they could potentially in-house maybe change some things, but as far as this past month and having met with an engineer, I haven't met with them on site this past month, I did not. But, I know that Dr. Combs and I will reach out to them and see, now that they've got their additional light, see how that works or how they feel about that. But I have not made it to the game, nor have I gotten any feedback, from any of those projects. So I know Drummond's, one of the ones that you asked about, we do plan to continue to move asphalt material over the fall break and hopeful over fall break to get that widened. So that at least we'll have a good pad, we can continue to build and whenever we can get in the budget to put a layer of asphalt over that. That is something that we're hopeful to have, soon. So appreciate it. Any other questions?
All right, Mr. Hunter, thank you.
Guys.
Dr. Bird, you back up here.
Back up, one more time. I want to start tonight with our American Fidelity Teacher of the Month. This month, we have Miss Chrissy Wakefield, who is a 7th grade ELA teacher from Crestview Middle School. And her principal said the following about Miss Wakefield in his nomination. Miss Wakefield is a team player and is an example of diligence through the storm. She brings the curriculum to life for her learners. And then Dr. Norton added, she hasn't missed a beat with full implementation of the ELA curriculum and continues to lead the 7th grade team through adversity. She is an exemplar with IPG expectations, and that's just a bunch of instructional jargon, but that just means she's really good at what she does. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And then the only other thing I have is this month we have section 3 of the policy manual. If anyone has any policies in that section that they would like to discuss, that section is called support services. Oh, okay, very good. Next month, we'll do the first half of section 4, which is instructional services. There are a lot of policies in section 4, so we'll just kind of divide it in half and look at the first part in November and the second half of those policies in December. So if you have something that you want me to pull out ahead of time, just shoot me an email or a text, and I'm happy to do that. That's all I have, unless somebody has a question for me. Yes, sir.
So the moving of the students around, and that, is that after break?
So, we are actually, ALC, TLC students in 612 went to virtual instruction this, let me get my days, this past Monday, October the 2nd, I guess. So those students are now doing virtual. It's working pretty well. They are online with their teachers. We have a schedule where all day they're online with first period, second period, third period, doing their work and interacting face-to-face on the computer with their teachers. So that started Monday, and this week we're doing all the moving. Crestview Middle, I believe, moved everything yesterday that was moving from the interim structure to ALC, TLC, and they transported their students up there after dismissal today, held classes, or I'm sorry, after drop-off, held classes during the day, and then transported them back for dismissal at the interim structure. They'll do that again tomorrow, and then starting Monday after fall break, so I think that'll be the 16th, they will start drop-off and pick up at the ALC, TLC building. So, yeah, it's going pretty well.
Maybe this may be a question, Mr. Hunter. Is there plans to do something about the sound and acoustics in the
Well, obviously, we're hopeful that part of the loud part of the noise will be moving to the ALC, but yes, they're still planning for the acoustical portion of that to be addressed. I do know that Dr. Combs was hopeful for the time to be able to see what noise level was removed by ticking. I know I was up there today and I heard from other teachers, just apparently like around the lunch period is whenever there was apparently an increase in what would be described as a roar. And today, I heard multiple people saying it's not as loud today as what it has been. So if you would, I guess allow maybe the noise to settle and just see what is the real noise, you know. Let's get 350 bodies out and see what we're dealing with now. And since there will be rooms incorporated within the building that aren't classrooms, you know, to where we can maybe focus more on where the classrooms are and what we can do in those areas. Because if we don't have noise coming out of areas, there's no need putting, you know, noise control above those office areas, if you will. So, yes, there are plans. I would say that we were currently in the next step, next phase, if you will. So, I don't know if that helps you with your answer.
So you're analyzing the situation, is what you're
Correct.
Yeah, they've been doing that.
That was the long way to say that.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay.
But I don't want anyone to think that it's a short-sighted and something that's
no.
not being taken much very serious. But at the end of the day, we are looking at a lot of dollars and try to be physically responsible as well. So just throwing good money at something, at a dart that we don't even know what our target really is. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Bird.
Well, I was gonna ask you quickly, you know, how many vacant teacher positions do we have now?
I think 8, but if you'll allow me to review that tomorrow and email you, but I think it's 8.
Are they mostly specialty people or just regular math?
A few of them are special ed, and I think Ms. Barissa's still here. Do you know how many sped openings we have right now?
Last time it was 3,
Yeah, I was thinking there, about 3 of them were from special ed.
and it was 4, and we filled 1 position.
I'll send you all an email tomorrow, and I'll break it down for you. But I think it's 8, Mr. Benson.
And can you, when you do that breakdown, is it possible to see certified and not certified?
Well, that was just certified.
Yeah, that's just teachers.
I can't really speak,
But don't we have,
but I can tell you.
I'm
I don't know
curious,
off the top of my head.
about positions, at Crestview Middle or Elementary that may, like, not be, that are positions that are filled there.
Sorry,
I
but
just,
I
I don't
understand
know,
the
I
question.
mean,
Like teachers, well, to be in a teaching position, you have to have either a license, a permit, or a waiver.
Right.
Yes,
do we have some on waivers right now?
throughout the entire district.
A lot, I mean, increased numbers.
I would say yes. Yes, I can get you that information, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm happy to get that. I'm sorry, I thought you meant like teacher assistants, nurses, okay, sorry, I just misunderstood your question.
And
I'll
I
get
didn't
you the
deliver it
information.
right either.
It's fine. It's fine. Anybody else? Okay,
Thank you, Dr. Byrne. Director of Operations, Mr. James Fields.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I feel like y'all already covered what I was gonna talk about tonight. I feel like a singer that's been invited to an event, and the singer before me sung the song that I was gonna
Do
sing.
you feel deflated?
You to review them.
I'll review. So we have completed the move for at the alternative school, the Crestview Middle 7th and 8th grade. That's including 12 teachers, but that's also including the band, chorus, and PE. And I talked to Miss Beard this afternoon, and I just asked her how was it going, and the comment she made, she said, this is school. I said, so is the noise level good? She said, this is school. She said, we can work with this. I spoke with Cal this afternoon. He said they were moving the 4th grade over to the CMS building. And he said he really couldn't tell because the teachers and the adults were making so much noise and moving things. But a couple of the teachers, they were like, yeah, man, this is gonna be better. We have water. Of course, I think they replace the water jugs every 2 weeks, but that's not an issue anymore. We're constantly working on the restrooms. I don't really know that procedure to get the commodes to flush well or whatever, but
Well,
I
the
hadn't heard.
procedure is that it gets reported in, and if I've got maintenance guys that can go with it, but with Sunbelt does have a guy, Joey Goforth, actually, who they're using in Blue Oval for a lot of their Porta John services or whatnot, that's what business he's in. He's got a bunch of, they've ordered spare parts that were to have on hand, so he can come in the after hours to address, concerns. Again, it is a moving target. I'm hopeful that this moving 350 bodies to ALC, that we'll just, I'm not saying just transfer the problem up there, but they'll go there, and then we'll minimize the issues that we're having at the track, at that temporary site. So that's where we are as far as that.
The main thing is that I'm confident that both places is gonna be more conducive for learning at this point. So I'm very excited about it. We now have to get the kitchen up and running at ALC. And according to Dr. Combs and Ms. Sabrina, it's gonna have to be gutted. We'll almost have to, make it a new kitchen here as quickly as we can. But that's gonna take a minute. Project Succeed, is going well. Minimum concerns with SACC. There was a question, what about these kids staying at home on distance learning? I think we've had over 90% attendance where the kids are logging in. So for sure, they're logging in somewhere. I don't know if they're at home or not, but at least they're logging in. So that's not an issue at this point, but I know we're still in the honeymoon phase, but right now things are going well. No Wi-Fi issues that I'm aware of. Only one other thing I want to mention is, they passed a law that all of the schools that are outside doors have to remain locked all day. The concerns we have is, cafeteria workers propping open the door or custodians. So we really have to ensure that that doesn't happen. We can have a regular police officer for either municipality to just come up to the school and start checking doors, and they don't have to make the principal aware. Now, let's say they do find a door unlocked, then that school has to make a report to the chief or the captain and to the state with a plan on how they will ensure that that won't happen again. I think there's already one district in the state that's been fined because they found the unlocked door. So I thought that was pretty interesting and some good FYI.
Can they put an alarm on those doors?
Can they put alarms on the doors?
So when they stay open for so long? Kind of like my refrigerator?
Yeah, I don't know, that might be a hard question. I'm sure they can, but
I'm certain that there's technology out
it
there
sounds like
that we
a
can.
$10 million project.
It's the retrofit, the expense, and, and then getting something that's gonna be compatible. I'm gonna say anything's possible, guys.
So of course, Billy's gonna go into bonus plans or whatnot. So any questions for me? Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a quick question. Okay, so you said that the ALC kitchen was basically gonna have a redo.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how will those students, when we go back from fall break, will they just have lunch as they were getting it prior to, until that kitchen is?
Well, we were already transferring the food for the ALC and TLC kids. So
Okay,
she's
it's
accustomed
just gonna
to
be
that.
more to transfer, I got
Yeah,
it.
instead of 100, it'll be 400. So still a better deal. Yes, sir.
Did we lose or gain any bus drivers since the last meeting?
We have one training,
We have one training.
which is good. We went a while without one, maybe about a month.
Yeah, about that.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Billy Daugherty, financial.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call Mr. Beasley back up. He did such a good job last time, and he was so excited to come back. So, I'm gonna ask him to come up tonight to present the 142 School Federal Projects Fund budget amendments, and then we'll go into the 141. If you'll come up.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So there's not much going on in 142 this month. We did have a few amendments in the entitlement funding applications. They're submitted for approval at the moment, and that consists of the ARP Homeless 2.0, the ATSI grant, that was carryover money from last year, and then the consolidated funding application, which consists of the Con Admin Pool, Title I, II, III, and IV, the IDEA Part B, and IDEA Preschool. Those are all gonna be carryover money that came in from last year. And then, so we also have one amendment in the competitive funding application. It's gonna be for the Access for All Learning Network, AALN. We had a small amendment in that. So I just ask for a motion to approve those amendments.
Okay, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Ms. McClurkin. Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
All right, for 141 general purpose school fund budget, excited to announce tonight that as part of Governor Lee's one-time $40 million investment in school safety, Tipton County School District's been awarded a public school security grant in the amount of $406,511.21. The purpose of this grant is to enhance school safety. You'll see in your packets there that budget's been loaded as it has been proposed. Mr. Chairman, my request tonight is that the district would accept that grant and we would include it in the 141 general purpose school fund amendments. This grant is going to run through 141, not 142.
Okay, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Eubanks. Are there any questions? Those in favor, go ahead.
Was this a one-time?
Yes, sir, it's one-time $40 million funding across the state, and of that, we've got a little over $400,000.
So we don't have to spend it first and get reimbursement, they're just giving us cash?
So, well, it's like any other grant, we'll spend it, obligated, request reimbursement. Yes, sir.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
In like manner, we've also been awarded, and it's been announced that as part of TISA now, districts are going to receive what they're calling the State Special Education Preschool Grant. And this grant addresses students with disabilities that are ages 3 to 5 in the district, and this is supposed to be recurring funds. Inside this grant, we'll be requesting for you all to approve us to accept this grant, and in so doing, it adds a position for a behavior analyst and a position for a family engagement specialist. And Ms. Marissa Richardson, who is the supervisor and does a great job at that. She's here tonight if you have any specific questions about those duties. But that grant in its total is $219,817.68. And we're told that it's going to be a recurring grant each year. And this grant too will run through the 141 General Purpose School Fund. So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that a motion be made to accept this and spread this through the amendments in the 141 and taking into consideration the addition of those two positions.
Okay, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Ms. McClurkin. Any questions? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll see the revenue for those two grants reflected in the amendments that are in your packet and those disbursements that go throughout. In addition to those two amendments, I told you all a couple of months ago that after we presented our budget, the state changed some guidelines on the way they wanted us to report positions. And so we had a 169, which is a part-time personnel option code throughout the budget. They don't want that reported. They want it reported. If it's a part-time teacher, they want it in 116. If it's a part-time assistant, they want it reported in 163. So you'll see a lot of movement of funds in the accounts, moving the money out of 169 into those object codes for the full-time personnel. That's spread throughout the budget. It doesn't change the allocations, but you will see that in the budget. So, Mr. Chairman, my request tonight is to accept that the board approve those amendments to the 141, simply just moving those funds around. And now there are a couple of other amendments that I want to take up at the same time that are just to address some deficits. One of them being the $420,000 we were short on property insurance this go around. On the premiums, they went up $420,000 this year. And so moving money from what used to be in the SRO grant payment into the property insurance to cover that deficit. No change to fund balance in the budget amendments.
I missed some of that, so.
Okay.
Go ahead. I mean, I don't know if you can repeat it, so that was.
Yes, sir.
That was a deficit, we're moving money from, what was our SRR funding?
Yes, sir. So if you will look at the document that's titled Fiscal Year 23-24 Budget Revisions Work File, that's in your packet.
All right.
And let's just kind of scan the document together from page 1 and go down, just so y'all can kind of see what, in case there is a question. This is under the November column. Of course, at the top are your, the $219,000 figure is the one we just spoke of on the grant, and the $406,000 is on the grant. That's total new revenue in the budget of $626,329. As we go down into where it says 7,100 there on the bottom of page 2, you'll see that. You'll start seeing that swapping of the money from 169 into the object codes for the full-time personnel line items. Y'all see that? And then continuing down through the document as we get down to page 4 of 9. I'll give you a moment to say it to be there. Page 4 of 9. The account is the 72,130. And you'll see a reduction of $420,000 in the object code 309. That is where we're moving $420,000 out of that initial appropriation, which is where we historically have paid the agencies for SROs. And we're gonna move that money down to the line item object that covers property insurance. And so you're gonna see that come back into the budget here in just a second. So we'll continue to scan those pages. And again, as you see, you're gonna see a lot of movement between the 169, the 116, the 163, the 105, all those different line items. Just pushing that money where the state wants it reported so that they can have the uniform reporting. And then we will get down to, if you'll look at page 7 of 9, there at the top under 72,610 plant operations, you'll see under building and contents insurance, that 420 was added there to fix that deficit.
So that's been doubled what our budget was for it though.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So insurance overall went up significantly. Now, we had budgeted about a 25% increase across liability, auto insurance, all the insurances we had. Well, we did good, we did well on the other two. We had enough to cover it, but not on the building and contents. And it's not that we were punished necessarily because we lost 2 buildings. In this event, they determined that they were underinsured, or the values were low.
Okay.
And so what we were, I'll just use a rough example. Say they were insuring the building for $25 million when it was really a $40 million in today's, and so they just raised those rates to match what it would cost to replace the school. And in so doing, it increased the rates.
Okay.
And so that is a significant jump, but that's the purpose or the reason for it. And then going down through the budget, really that's the majority of that. Again, you'll see those are in personnel line items. with the exception of the 73,300, but there's no change to any account where money's moved within it, with the exception of the ones we just spoke about. And so no change to fund balance. So, Mr. Chairman, request a motion to approve those amendments as presented in that document.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Ms. Eubanks, second by Ms. McClurkin. Any other questions? We'll be
So we're taking that SRO money, so when we talk about where that money went, that SRO money that we were going to budget, now that it's paid for, is going to insurance.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Significant portion of it, yes, sir.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye. Opposed, motion passed.
All right. So I'd like to take a moment to, Dr. Combs, as you heard, is not here tonight, he's under the weather at the moment, and so I'm gonna read for you as we move into, Mr. Benson had asked us to address the, potential bonus and the incentive programs. I'm gonna read, this is Dr. Combs' words. So since I'm appreciative of the work all our employees do, I propose the same bonus for all employees, for all full-time personnel, and a bonus for part-time as well in the amount of $250. All this for December. If we feel good financially the second semester, my intent would be to make the same suggestion for May. Those are Dr. Combs' words. I'm quoting his statement here, and this is on the document. Where's the clicker? This is on the document that you all have gotten regarding the raises or the potential bonus cost comparisons, as you'll see here on this form. The one at the very bottom is the one that Dr. Combs is proposing. If you all take up or consider a bonus, then this would be the one that he is recommending, is the $750. Again, $750 for every full-time employee and $250 for every part-time employee. That equates to an estimated cost in the 141 General Purpose School Fund of just over $1.1 million, and the 142 School Federal Projects, 107, and the 143, 52,000. Now, I do want to say that would not be paid out of 142 because that's federal funds. I'm just telling you that's where that impact of those dollars are inside that budget. And so that total cost is just over 1.3 million. Now, we talked about a number of things that I wanted you to be aware of, one of them being the insurance, one of them being the significance in the purchase of capital assets in buses. We've discussed this on a number of occasions. There were 2 years, some decade or so ago, I hope Mr. Ligon and Mr. Vander was able to speak to this, that buses were not purchased. And you know, there's an annual rotation of buses. There are laws that govern how long buses can stay in the fleet. And I would like to ask Mr. Ligon and Mr. Vander to speak to that in just a second. From my perspective though, we're talking we're $3.8 million worth of buses we're gonna be out of and need to purchase here in the next couple of years. So if you all don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call on Mr. Ligon and Mr. Vandiver to talk about that bus schedule, so that you all can be aware of that. So Mr. Ligon, Mr. Vandiver, you all able to speak on that?
It doesn't matter. I can go with this. That's it.
Yeah, let me.
That's not tear it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just like Mr. Daugherty said, for those of you that don't know how bus schedules work, Department of Homeland Security says we can use them for 18 years. After 18 years, we have to retire them. They have to go. After 15 years, they go into what's called extended utilization. We have to pay for extended utilization, have them inspected twice a year. That's not that big of a deal. Well, our problem has arisen while we're in the situation we're in now, you have to look all the way back to 2004. Between 2004 and 2008, in those 5 years, we put 64 buses in service. That's a lot of buses. Between 2009 and 2013, we put 42 buses in service. 12 of those are sped buses. 2014, 2018, we put 36 buses in service. The main problem is all those buses from 2004, 2008, they're gonna retire in the next 2 years. By the end of 2025, we're gonna lose 18 buses. End of 2026, we're gonna use 13 buses. About 31 buses are gonna retire here in the next 2 years. We don't have anything to replace them right now. We have 150 buses in our fleet that are in that 18-year window right now.
At the cost of?
They're approximately $125,000 right now.
And you said between 2004 and 2008?
8.
Was 64
64 buses we put in service in that 5 years. On average, about 13 buses per year.
Had a lot of growth back then.
Correct.
Then they were cheaper.
A lot
A lot
cheaper. We've
cheaper.
had a significant increase in the bus costs in the last 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely. Even the sped buses now are 125,000.
I looked at some of this back earlier in the year, just kind of compare. I think it's when we talked about outsourcing the buses. I'm all for keeping it, us controlling it. I'm not saying that, but, I kind of compared our total transportation cost per student versus other surrounding counties, and I tried to find some that we matched up well with. And what I found, we were significantly higher per like if we're like a $7 million budget for 10,000 students, but we're like $700 a student. I went and looked at several similar counties, and I'm saying I saw some of this coming, I think I got a list of the bus inventory, and I knew the 18-year, and I knew there was gonna be a time when we'll have to buy a good number of buses.
Right.
My other concern is why our transportation costs are so much higher per student as compared to, there's a county just north of Nashville, I can't think of it, that we, are very,
Montgomery,
not Montgomery, starts with an S.
so,
Sumner, maybe Sumner. And there's a couple other ones, I don't have that, I was looking for my spreadsheet, and I don't have it on this computer, but, that was some of my concerns are why are our expenses so much higher? And, that's something we'll talk about later, but, I just wanna point that out.
It's perhaps they don't transport as much as we do. And we have 136 routes.
Yep.
We have a lot of shuttles.
Right, that's, 136 routes, 12 of those are sped routes, and that's just including our routes, that's not including Austin P Elementary and their sped program. On top of those routes, we go to TCAT 35 times a week.
Yeah.
We go to Dartmouth State Community College.
We may be
10
doing
times
it better than some other places,
I think between Project 2C, TCAT, and all the shuttles, all the ALC shuttles, you have to think, we transport children all over this county to, Charter Academy. Most counties don't do that.
We called Mumford High this week and asked them, how many times have you used our buses just this year? And they told us 64 times.
Yeah.
For band and sports.
Yeah, I understand basketball, yeah,
Right.
I'm familiar with all that, so. I don't know, that was an easy thing to compare, because you can easily look at somebody's transportation budget, easily see their student enrollment, and then do a quick calculation.
Right.
So it's like, and maybe that extra cost is because we're getting better service.
Do you know how many children they transport, or?
Well, that's why I broke it down, and I got a spreadsheet, I'll send it to you, but it was, that's what I was trying to find, let's compare who, in size, in area,
Right.
and then also in enrollment. And there was 4 or 5 counties that we matched up really well with, but then we're $150 more per student. And so when you're saying that, now you're $1.5 million more in transportation costs. I don't know, it's just something to look in, there's a lot to look into on those budgets, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. I know most counties, they don't offer insurance and benefits to their employees where we do. That could be, that could make a
this
difference.
will be a budget item, I think it's irrelevant right now, as far as what we're trying to accomplish here tonight.
Well, I do think it's gonna tie into our decision later, and one of the things I wanna say about the transportation budget, and of course, we need to assess this, we haven't completely done it through the conversations that you've had with Dr. Combs and me. All the internal school fund transportation costs they talked about, where I think some districts pay for it through the instruction budget, is covered in the transportation budget here, so that makes the number in transportation look higher. The insurance for the district for transportation for automobile liability is paid for out of the transportation budget, even though that covers a number of other, the tractor and maintenance and all the maintenance stuff, all that's paid for in the transportation budget, gasoline. And so that inflates it a little bit. So those are some factors that we would have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples with the other districts. And so I just wanted to make you all aware of that. My main focus tonight, and these are all good conversations, is that the board needs to be aware that in the next 2 years, we've got to find $3.8 million to replace school buses. And it's not in our budget every year. And so, and we're gonna talk about fund balance in a second. But I didn't know all the details that these gentlemen know, so I wanted to make sure you all knew that, because I didn't know if you would have a particular question.
Just one last thing I would like to hit is that when we order buses, it takes anywhere between 10 and 12 months to get them.
Yeah.
So Will is on the phone with our rep,
usually weekly, monthly, trying to see when we're gonna go ahead and get them. Cause she wants them to hit in July, and so do we. That way we can pay for them in July, and those new buses, they have to be inspected. So we're always waiting on that in July, and we're hoping to get them, cause if she gets them in, April or May, she has to pay like a lot
Right.
for
Well,
them.
we're always kind of playing roulette with it, because when I buy buses this year, you know, that's coming out of my next year's budget. But, you know, you have to buy them a year in advance, so it takes that long to get
So,
them.
you know, my point is, when those 16 buses go out, you know,
You have
shot
to, gotta be
hard.
ordered way ahead.
Right. We don't wanna be sitting, waiting in July, hoping we get these 16 buses on top of another 15 to 20 that have to be in, extended use, us pay for them in July, and those be inspected too, before we can run in August.
All right.
So,
That's right. Thank you guys for the information, okay?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Any other questions for us?
Thank you.
All right, so I was also asked tonight to give an update on the estimated fund balance. So I want you all to be aware of that. As it stands, when we close the books in September, our estimated unassigned fund balance, you gotta realize there's 4 or 5 categories of fund balance. Our unassigned category for fund balance is 17.9 million at September 30th. So, that is the money we're dealing with. Now, I also put into your package, you'll see there's a statutory requirement that districts maintain. This is a statute by the by the State of Tennessee Department of Education. You'll see the 3% fund balance test. That is the amount of money that we're required to maintain without touching in a restricted fund balance. That's why sometimes you'll see restricted on the balance sheet, and that's what that's for. The general rule of thumb is to have 2 months worth of operational cost in fund balance. And that is, in case there's catastrophe, say, you know, a tornado or something comes through, takes out a couple of your schools and you need to front some money. Or if something were to happen such as COVID, which it didn't happen during COVID, but 2 months operating expenses is the rule of thumb. That's the minimum, recommendation by GFOA and the Comptroller's Office. And I believe I included that in your, package as well, the Comptroller Office page. So, all that to say is we are sitting where I would say we don't need to go any lower on fund balance currently, given the circumstances based on the GFO recommendations. So the conundrum being, we got the buses to pay for, we gotta figure out where we get that money. And then, we're on fund, so I don't suggest that we go to fund balance, which you all know in our budget talks, we didn't go to fund balance for anything this year. We're in a good place at fund balance. I'm not saying it's a bad place, we're in a good place, we're in a way better place than most districts, quite frankly, really better. But also want to be good stewards. And so I know there may be some more direct questions, and I'm prepared to take those, Mr. Chairman, if there are.
Okay. Any other questions about, our fund balance or the bonus or, Dr. Combs had recommended, right?
He said that if the board was going to vote to do a bonus, you know,
Okay, I got you.
as he stated in the previous
Yes,
meeting,
yes.
his initial intention was to wait until the school year in the second semester to assess where we were financially for situations such as the bus, had FEMA paid, those type things. That was his recommendation. But he says if we're going to pay a bonus and the board's going to do it, then his suggestion is we give all full-time employees $750, all part-time employees $250. And then the intent is to reassess it in the second semester, perhaps even more, because as Dr. Combs stated in the last meeting, he'd love to give them, he wants to give them as much as he can if the money's available. But then there's other demands.
We have a lot of money going out, I know that. I mean, we got a lot of unforeseen items that we don't know what's gonna cost. I mean,
As far as FEMA reimbursements.
Right.
we
So,
just-
yes, thank you
We
for
might
bringing
have a
that up.
better idea after
Exactly.
the first of the
Yes.
year.
Yes, so, Tim, and I can't think of Tim's last name, Hatcher, our FEMA representative, attended the finance meeting with us Monday night to give an update to the county. Of course, he's got business in the county and he's got business with the schools. And, where they initially told us they thought it would be October, but when we got the first initial payment, he's talking more like spring now. Well, you know, that makes me very nervous.
people are not gonna wanna wait on their money. I mean, they can, I understand that, but folks that have done work, they need to be paid.
So, well, we're paying those
That's
people.
what I'm saying.
And so we paid just under $3 million so far to some of the contractors. And, you know, the majority of the costs are up front. Y'all know that, you've looked at the contracts, you know, and once the structures are in place, then there's that monthly fee that we're going to have to pay. So the cost is there, so if it comes in spring, here's what concerns me the most about this, and I've had this conversation with Mr. Vincent. in June, we pay out everybody's payroll. And so we pay 4 checks to all the employees. It's about $10 million. Now, cash flow is a funny thing, you know, it's up and down. 17.9 minus 6 million for the project, minus 10 million for payroll, leaves you how much money? Well, then you gotta pay the gas bill, you gotta pay insurance, you gotta pay those other things, and I don't know where that's gonna land, and I don't wanna get into a deficit. They would hang me on the front lawn of the school board if we get into a deficit in the general fund, general purpose school fund. I think they would have saw. So I want you all to know those things, and there's so many unknowns. What happens next month, what happens the next month? FEMA could come in and write the check, and is it 65%, Hunter?
My understanding is 75.
The first payment though.
Yes, well, yes, correct, 65%, that's the reason we deferred our option, and we didn't do a 100, we didn't do a lump sum of the overall, we said we were gonna do 65% up, and then they would pay actuals.
That's right. So, just rough numbers, if we spend 6 million, they come in at 65%, we might see a $3 or $4 million, $3.5, $4 million check in the spring. That happens, I'm comfortable. If it doesn't happen, or if they get deleted, the federal government is a shutdown this week, or no, I don't know. But that affects us, that affects FEMA, and that affects this process, that all these things go through. And so I think we need to be mindful of that, because if there is an extended shutdown, it may have been an extension on our payment. And if we get into the end of the school year, and we're in fund balance, I'm just concerned. It's my duty to make you all aware of that, and it's your decision based on what you want to do. I just want to be a good steward.
But giving this, the one that Dr. Combs recommended.
If the board voted.
Right, if we vote for
Yes.
it. We will not be, if we do not get our reimbursements in the spring, you're still saying, if we give this, we'll still be in a negative regardless? Or without giving this, we would still be in a negative?
So those are hypotheticals. It's difficult to determine. What we do know based on this chart is we're gonna be at least $1 million less than what we are. I just told you we're 17.9. If we give the minimum, we're down to 16.9. The build out 6 million, or the cost of that price tag is 6 million. Payroll in July or June is typically around 10 million. That leaves you, and then you got your monthly electric bills and stuff. It just puts it down. Now there's money, TISA's $7.5 million, they paid right on time every time, the first 2 times. So that looks good, and the fund, and like I say, the fund balance is healthy at the moment. It's just, what's it going to be like at the moment? And so what is FEMA going to do, and are they gonna do it in the fall, or are they gonna do it in the spring? And so I would feel personally more comfortable once the check in the mail doesn't satisfy me. I want the money in the bank. And, gold is better than money any day, somebody said, right?
My honest opinion is I think we need to wait till after the first of the year.
That's not my decision, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure you all are aware of what the circumstances
I'm just putting my 2 cents in. I think we ought to wait until after the first year to our financial situation, to see what's going on with FEMA.
I mean, just within 3 weeks, it went from October to spring, what I mean, so.
It's very risky, I think,
Yes.
at this point, would be on our part.
I'm not against giving a bonus. I'd give everybody as much as we could, and I understand. They deserve it, they do deserve it, but we gotta be good stewards.
And one point I want to bring up about Mr. Hatcher that I failed to mention, y'all, that I do want to mention. Mr. Hatcher says, for the most part, the way he thinks, it's made it through all those committees it has to make through in the feds, and he feels like it's been pushed to the state for observation. Now, if the state finds a problem and sends it back to the feds, it goes back through the process again, right? And so I feel like we're in a good place, is what I'm saying, according to him, in moving the project forward. It's just now we're waiting on the state to give us a word for that. Government shutdown would affect FEMA's ability to deal with it if it went back.
All right. Bus driver.
Bus driver incentive, so we've included that as well. And I don't know, did that get loaded? Did it get loaded on here? So here's the bus driver incentive and sign-on bonus that we discussed. This is what Dr. Combs is proposing after meeting with the team. And that is to offer a perfect attendance incentive to the bus shop employees if they have perfect attendance between January and May of 2024. And then to offer a sign-on bonus for those new drivers up to $1,000 for the driver. Of course, we would have, if this is voted on and approved, we would have to come up with a criteria on how they qualify. What do you got to do to get the sign-on bonus? Is it all up front, or is it spread out over a period of time? But the total cost to do that roughly right now is an estimated $51,000 on top of any plan that you may consider for a bonus.
I have a question about that.
Yes, sir.
How many bus drivers we got, like 130 rounded up?
Total amount we have 119.
19. What, you know, talking about perfect attendance from January to May, is that attainable? For most of us bus drivers, do you think? What percentage of bus drivers do you think could possibly make that, do you think?
75%.
I'll make a motion that we approve what Dr. Combs has submitted for the bus drivers incentive.
Okay.
And bonus.
Have a motion by Mr. Vincent, do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
So, my question is, can we make the same offer to our cafeteria workers?
So, for the second part. For what?
For, $400 perfect attendance?
Are we hurting for cafeteria workers?
That just as bad?
I never thought about that. I figure if we're short of bus drivers, and it's tough to recruit them and retain them, we ought to do something for the bus drivers. I haven't even thought about anything about cafeteria people.
Well, it's tough, to offer our bus drivers that, in my position, and not offer to my cafeteria workers. And plus, they have it in their, fund balance.
That is one thing for you all to consider. Food service has its own fund balance. It's restricted fund balance, it's federally funded. I met with the program manager some time ago, Coach Fields and I did, and it is an allowable cost to give a bonus out of that fund balance, a one-time bonus.
And that fund balance looks healthy.
It's healthy enough, yes, it's about 3.8, their fund balance is about 3.8 million, it's typically about 2, but you know, we got all of that money through COVID that was coming in for all the food assistance programs, so that could be done, and so you could fund this type of, well, you have 96, well, you have 109 employees here, you have about 96 employees in cafeteria if they're fully staffed. And so like Coach was saying, they're difficult to recruit as well, and so.
So they have enough in their fund balance to handle a $400 perfect attendance bonus?
Yes, sir, in my opinion.
Let me ask you, I've got a question.
Okay.
How many cafeteria workers do we have?
It's about
Roughly.
96.
How many do you off your head?
He just said 96.
Oh, 96?
About 96.
Okay.
If they're fully staffed, I believe that's the number.
But we're not doing the sign-on bonus. That's just for bus drivers, just the perfect attendance for the cafeteria. Is that what you were suggesting?
Yes, that's correct.
I amend my recommendation to include cafeteria workers as well.
All right. Do we have a second? Mr. Eubanks, second. All right. Now it's open for discussion. Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed.
Right.
Free pie for James tomorrow.
Back to the bonus for the,
What about, teachers that have perfect attendance? Do we do anything for them?
I knew we was gonna open up a can of worms.
Well, I'm thinking all the time. That's why I asked it, because I'm sitting there thinking. that all the
Well,
time.
this bonus is what we did was talked about for everybody. I mean, it's,
Well, we already voted for the bonus for the incentive program for the cafeteria and bus drivers, right?
yeah, but it's $51,000. It's not
$1.3 million.
$3 million.
Yeah, I got you. But I actually
and they have the funds for it.
I actually had a suggestion that was significantly less than Dr. Combs proposed
For the incentives?
for the bonus. All right, here's what I thought of. It's my figures, it's about $450,000. For certified personnel, certified personnel who are classroom teachers, $500. For all other personnel, certified and non-certified, $300. For part-time workers, $100. The way, I'm a former math teacher, who knows, it's been a long time. I got about $465,000 in those.
Okay, did you figure in payroll liabilities?
I don't even know what that.
That you gotta pay retirement, Medicare, Social
No,
Security?
I did not.
So you're gonna have to add, depending on the
On a
employee,
bonus.
12 to 16%.
On a bonus, you pay those.
Yes, sir.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Can we table that to the next meeting and you come back with some plans? And we can talk about it again next month.
Certainly, you all can vote whatever, this is why I want you to understand the timelines, and there's a couple things I wanted to rewind real quick before we got into this to say, that I want to mention. First of all, Dr. Combs wanted me to be sure this was, to mention this, and these incentives were in addition to any bonus that might be voted. So the other thing is, the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers do not receive paid leave. All other employees receive sick leave and personal leave. Bus drivers and food service workers don't receive no leave, right? I think there's an exception, like the supervisors in the cafeteria, I have to look at that again, I think they do get leave, but the majority of the staff, I don't think get sick leave. And that's the reason for the incentive for the leave, because if they're off work sick, they don't get paid. So I wanted to say, make sure I said that on record. And then, going back to this other, we gotta remember our meeting schedules. So if we table this, which I would certainly want to look at the numbers before you all voted to commit dollars. If we vote on this in November, it's gotta go to the county commission in December to be ratified. They have to approve it as well. And what's the second Monday in December? It's close, I know it's real close to the 15th. My point in that being is payroll runs on the 15th, but December 15th payroll is processed by the 6th or 7th.
December 11th.
So see, we would run payroll before, so my point in telling you all that is, if we do that, it would probably be the December 31st payroll when the bonus paid out. Because we wouldn't have enough time by the time it was ratified in the county commission to load payroll to get it to them on the 15th. It may happen, I just want you all to know there's a possibility we may need to do it on the 31st of December.
We need you to get the numbers like you did here.
Yes,
On next meeting, and go from there.
And to confirm, 500 certified teachers
In the classroom,
in the classroom,
$300 for all other certified and non-certified personnel, $100 for part-time.
5, 3, and 1.
And that would be for the end of, through the end of the year. And then we would
Look at
reevaluate
something in the spring or
after,
whatever.
toward the end of the year.
Be glad to, I'll have those numbers prepared for you. Probably can get them, next week's fall break. I'm gonna take vacation with my family. And then after that, I will load that into your folder there shortly thereafter.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other questions for Mr. Darby? Thank you, Mr. Darby.
Thank you.
All right, now, other business, we have delegates for the TSBA convention, and, Mr. Farrell, Mr. Davidson, Ms. Eubanks, and Mr. McCann. Mr. Vincent said he wouldn't be able to make it. Do you want to be, okay, so we have 4 delegates.
And if Ben decides he wants to go, I'll let him
Yeah,
know.
and then we can find out about Ben, so that's it. Does anybody else have anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Jenkins. We stand adjourned. Mr. Allison.